Hi, welcome. This is Diane Cunningham Ellis, and we are laughing already before we start, which is a good way to start a conversation. And I'm Diane Cunningham Ellis. I am the Brave Creations Coach. I help women bravely create in their body, their business, their brilliance, their breakthroughs and breakdowns. And only recently I've realized I need to use that title. And it was on a call with Heidi, and I'm going to let her introduce herself here in a second. But we're going to be talking today about consistency. We're going to be talking about learning to communicate with ourselves, I think. And also, we're going to be talking about the power of coaching, because all of those things in our lives are transformational for me. And I know that as a fellow coach, they're transformational for Heidi. So excited to be here with you, Heidi. Go ahead and tell them who you are.
Well, hi, I'm Heidi Kleine, and I am the Level Up coach and work with Diane Cunningham as my own personal coach and help people who want to level up their lives, whether it's your ministry, whether it's your lifestyle, your schedule, just someone who feels called to move to the next level. And I'm just excited to be here today and talk a little bit about this experience that I had in my own coaching time with Diane and how we think this can translate into something useful for you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent, excellent. And so, because we're always learning, I always have all these. I have coaches, right? Right now. I have a coach helping me with marketing. I have a coach helping me. Well, I mean, I could say they're all helping me with branding, marketing, culture. And just three or four of those conversations this last week, even. And of course, in the last week, I've coached. I've coached you. I've coached in groups. I've coached about body nourishing and all sorts of things. But like, there's just such a power in the questions. And I remember one of the books you told me about. I'm blanking on the title. Uh, Coaching questions or something like that. You'll be able to share about it, but I'm sure it's on my shelf. And it was just the power of the question and being asking questions and being willing to listen, being willing to listen to my own answer, being willing to listen to your answer and consider that. I mean, it might be right, it might be wrong. Okay, great. That's so great. And um, not having to throw my opinion on you, not having to throw my solutions on you, especially when you haven't asked for them, right? And especially out on social media land where it's a free for all of who knows what. But in these sacred conversations that I know you offer in you have a great place for a platform that we can have these healing havens of learning. And you've been a coach for a long time. Um, I don't even know where to start here, but just what do you want to share about just your coaches and your recent coaching journey for yourself?
Well, I really want to segue off that great statement you just made about sacred questions,
Mm.
right? And coaching is, to me, a sacred space where I actually sort of view it as a trinity space. It's the coach, it's the person being coached, and it's the spirit leading to the right questions
Wow.
being asked, as well as the right answers being received. And I almost equate it. Sometimes I've heard people talking about sermons or even popping open scripture and suddenly something really speaks to you. You want to be in a coaching relationship with people who ask a question and they can't even really figure out exactly where it came from, but it's exactly the right question. And I think that that's been very powerful thing between us. We've been coaching with each other for many years. Like you, I always have, at least two coaches at a given time. And I think those are the best kind of coaches to work with. If we are out there saying that coaching makes all the difference, then we have to live into that. And so it's kind of, you want to work with somebody who walks the walk. just like you do. And so this was just a great example of how a conversation between us can inspire a really insightful moment, and lead to change.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote, I mean, I'm always writing down notes for the sake of, I mean, it's how I learn, but it's also how I get these aha words and moments. And so I just wrote down our favorite word. You and I have a couple favorite words together. Clarity is one of them. Resentments has been a really painful but powerful one. Not resentments between the two of us, just for the sake of the call. Um, but just resentments that we have lingering in life. And then another powerful word that you and I have together is evolution. And just I'm thinking of how long we've known each other and the coaching journey, the relationships, the times together in person, the times together on Zoom, the times together, all these years, all these years. And when we begin having those relationships with each other and with our coaches and sponsors and mentors, they can see our pattern and they can lovingly say, hey sister, you know, you're going down the wrong loop again. I love you and I see you kind of veering off into the wrong loop. You know, and that's just love. I mean, it's love, it's humanity. There is no perfect. It's all a practice, and it kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier this week with accountability and just consistency and those aha moments of I'm creating my own problem. A lot of times I am the worst. I'm my own worst enemy. I'm creating a problem where there really isn't one. So you and I were talking. Well, anything you want to share, like connect the dots with on that before I dive in.
No, I think we should dive into the conversation and
Okay.
the conversation about consistency and schedule routines.
Okay. So I'll set the stage for you, for all of you listening. Heidi and I were having one of our regular scheduled coaching calls, and we were talking about, you know, websites and church and you know, all the things, email connect, you know, all the stuff that we needed to talk about, marketing and connecting, promotions. And then we were talking about her being the level up coach, which she is. And it's good for her to say that. And it's good. And this is important. And then we started talking about time blocking. Time blocking. And you know, I mean, my notes are really just kind of like a chicken scratch experience here, but time blocking and showing up and overwhelm. And she also said a word, a wrinkle. And so maybe I'm going to just pass it to you. And what was the aha you had during our session?
Well, I think for me, the aha really came when I was kind of discussing my sense of overwhelm and my sense of busyness. You actually used the term check your busyness. And so in the process of thinking about that, what I came to realize is that I was sort of on this treadmill of thinking about the things that I needed to do all the time, 24/7, thinking about them, never actually doing things until the very last minute, until they became a crisis. So it's this constant sense of overwhelm and this constant sense of stress. There's a little piece of my brain that's always processing the list because the list hasn't been put out anywhere and wondering when I'm going to find time to do that. And when you asked me to describe the overwhelm, it became very clear just in the description of it that there were some simple steps I could take to put some boundaries on those things that I was experiencing.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So we can overthink about the thing and never do the thing, right? Never do the thing. And I love that,
right?
That term, simple steps, and also just we're working a lot. And we're always working on boundaries, like time boundaries and schedule boundaries and day boundaries. And even just right now, as we're talking, like notifications are coming in on our phones, right? On our devices. I see them, I'm flashing over, I'm distracted. I'm coming back, I'm coming back. And we have that all surrounding us. It's built in, unless we turn it off, right? And then we can, so it's like we're present, but kind of halfway checked out all the time, all the time. And so I love what you said about just the overthinking the simple steps. So then on our call, we were diving in to time blocking and how to set up a routine that would work for Heidi. And because we were talking about how important the morning is for all of us and how important the closing of the day. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on in the center too. And here's the deal. Every single day looks different than I ever planned. Every day. Like, that doesn't mean I have failed as a human.
Right.
We can be little Miss Checklist girls and bullet point girl and all the things. CEO or homemaker, doesn't matter. And your day just goes to hell in a handbasket by 7 a.m. Well, that's just actually called life. That's life.
And I think that was one of the things we were talking about, was that if you have a plan,
Mhm.
when the wrinkle hits, at least there's a place to go back to, right? Because what's happening to me right now is that when the wrinkle hits, I get stuck in it. And since there's no plan, there's nothing to come back to. There's no way to get back on track. And it was in that conversation that what came to my mind is, you need to level up your morning, right? Like, practice what you preach. Like, it just became very clear to me that that was where I needed to start.
Right.
And that would set me up to be in a better routine throughout the day. Yeah. And so that's what just sort of evolved out of that conversation.
And so for those, what does that mean to you? And I want you to share, and then I'll share what that means for me. Leveling up your morning. What does that now mean with your aha?
Well, for me, again, going back to boundaries, right? So saying that in several blocks in the morning, I'm going to have some things that I do, right? So I'm going to get up at a certain time, and I'm going to exercise at a certain time. But more importantly, and I think most importantly of all, I set a start time for my day. If you and I both work from home some, I work some outside of the home also, but when you're home, it's so easy to get pulled into all kinds of different directions. But I started this plan for myself with I'm going to be here in this chair in my office at a certain time, and then worked backwards from that, right? Like, how can I make the morning make sense so that I'm ready to be in that place, regardless of what happens once I get there? That was like the starting point for me.
Exactly. And it's once we talked it through, because your morning, is similar to mine, and I need to be, and a lot of this shifted this last year, and actually I think it's shifted in a good way for me. We can blame COVID for every ail we ever had, or we can just say, hey, all my secret troubles came rising up. So it gave people a great excuse. But knowing I'm going to be at my desk at a certain time, knowing I have a 12-step meeting I attend at a certain time, and I exercise, and then I have my, I don't want to race around. There's nowhere to race to. And but I know my morning system, and it helps me. It makes me feel good. It makes I get to the desk, dressed, ready, necklaces on, all sorts of cool things, so that I can do a bunch of actually videos before I hit like my real first Zoom at 10. and or reply to emails or plan for the coaching calls later in the day. Whatever those things are, like I'm here by 9ish. Does the world end if I'm not? No. But
Right.
it's just built into the morning. And I've already done a whole bunch of things that people haven't, most of the world hasn't done.
Right.
And that's leveling up, and that helps me set the day. It helped, I've done my prayer, I've done my workout, I've done my food prep, some of it. And I haven't, willy-nillied away the morning. And
Right.
then I have a full day where I get the honor to work. We can look at it as a drudgery, or the honor. And I feel like it's an honor to be able to coach and work, and then I get the honor of closing the day in whatever way and boundaries that looks like for each that's all based on family. Do you have small children, large large children, grown-up children, a child husband, and do you make the dinner? Do they make? So there's all sorts of nightly rituals and routines too they can be very soothing.
Right. Well, and I think that's when you are talking about a morning routine, having a starting time, that typically means your night routine has to have an ending time. Mm-hmm. Right. So that makes sense because the sleep component is real. And that's part of what has to be committed to. Is if you are going to set a commitment of a get up time, you typically have to set a commitment of an end of the day time also.
Right. Yeah, I'm loving all these. So I've heard all these words that start with C, like commitment and clarity and change, and check your busyness, because there's a whole lot of us busy doing a whole lot of nothing.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what am I thinking about, or am I spending 8 hours thinking and not actually doing anything?
Right. Well, I talk about this all the time with my dogs, right? When they were in like high school and college, and they'd have a project to work on, mm-hmm. and they would spend more time talking about how overwhelming the project was, or how difficult it was, or how they didn't want to do it, or and all of that time could have the project could have been knocked out in all of the time that was spent discussing the time it was going to take to do it, or right. And so I was always cognizant that it's just a human thing that we do, right? Like we get into these cycles, and so the more we can be aware of them and go, okay, this is this time could be better used, mm-hmm. The better off we are in getting some of that out of that sort of hamster wheel in our mind.
Right. And that goes back to what we were saying at the beginning, the power of coaching, the power of accountability, like having somebody that you talk to on a, whether that's a weekly accountability, daily, monthly, that's where I'm going to hear my own stuff every month going, oh my gosh, I said that last month. Oh my, I don't want to be that girl. Like, I don't want to be the girl that says, okay, I'm going to do these 3 things and I got 1.5 done. Okay, well, that's better than 0. And I want to be the action girl, I want to have awareness of my own blind spots. And I get that. I get the awareness with the accountability. I get that with the accountability. Right. I had an accountability call with one of my groups I'm in right now, and had that on Wednesday, and was talking to this girl. I barely know her. I've had 2 calls with her. She is in a very different genre than me, and she and I were sharing our little accountability thing, and she was like, well, why can't you just do that? It's right in front of you. And it was like this aha, connect the dots moment that somebody outside of me could see. And I'm like, oh, you are so on it, girl. Like, thank you for making the dots connect in something that's so simple, and I was making it so hard. was making it so hard. And that's where, you know, having somebody outside look in on our life, counseling, coaching, accountability, it's like, girl, it's right that, you know, you're sitting in front of that.
Right.
You don't have to go look for clarity. She's already here. She's here.
And when your coach asks the question that makes you say out loud that you see that yourself, it just alters your ownership of it.
Right.
And I think that, again, going back to our conversation, that's the difference between coaching and teaching, mentoring, right? Like, it's about somebody hearing what you yourself are saying you need, and then asking the question that helps you say the thing.
Right.
And once you've said the thing, then you have this awareness that's internal to yourself that begins that process of growth, of making change in your life.
Right. No, it's a beautiful process, and it's, as you and I both are coaches. We've been coaches long before we knew what that word probably meant. Right? It's like I was a coach, and I somehow snuck in through the counseling world. You know, I mean, I got my counseling degree. You know, you've been a coach long before you got your ICF coaching certification, right? We've been coaching our whole life long. We now have a word for it. We now have a word for it, and an industry for it, and it's just a way of showing up, and it's a really beautiful process to be on both sides.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, anything else? I know I have. I'll just share a couple, you know, some like I don't know, tips or hacks or helpful tools or something. You know, I know for me, because I'm such a note taker, I need to have visual ways of my habits, visual habit tracker things. So I create all these worksheets. You know, I've been throwing worksheets at Heidi for 5-10 years. Some of them, you know, I actually use, and some of them I make them and then I forget I have them, right? But like there was one that I had made a couple months ago, and it was, you know, like a week, like, so I like things that are a week at a glance. And this is one, and we just refound it. I'm not kidding. Yesterday, and I had made it, lost it, and now we found it again. And it's just a weekly tracking of everything from this one more wellness. You know, food. You know, your fruits, vegetables, water, mindful breaks, sleep, exercise, play. Like, wow, play. That's cool. And then I was starting to adapt this and make one that's more for business, like more like business focused, you know. And we were talking about just, okay, I know I need to do 3 hours worth of, I don't know, bit like, let's just pretend accounting, you know, kind of on business, on my business every week. You know, is that on Monday or is that on Friday? But knowing the number for the week, is that, do you get, you know, for those people that work a full-time job, okay, how many hours do you want to commit ahead of time? Is that 5 hours a week on your part-time gig, or is it 10? Okay, if we know that, we can build it into the week, right? So simple trackers like that. But one of the main ones, I just use a simple, you know, you don't have to go run out and create things. I mean, you can just use a simple calendar, which is one of the hacks that I use, where I keep track of my exercise because it's important to me. I keep track of the 12-step meetings I attended. And I've been doing this in a simple notebook like this for 3 years now. You know, and it's helpful to me to just, you know, write that number down every day. And it makes me feel like I got a gold star. What are some of the simple things you use to help you with consistency?
Well, I think that for me right now is a process. Like I said, I've really struggled in this last season with consistency and with kind of putting some boundaries on time. I am somebody who has paid full-time job and a coaching practice. And so to honor that, I have to be really careful. And I'm much better about tracking the work that I do that I'm paid for, like that has boundaries and it has rules. And so that's easy to block out. And so just the idea of transferring that to what I do with the rest of my life. I'm a big fan of just a gridded timesheet, right? So 15-minute time blocks and highlighters, right? So I can block out my exercise time every week. I can block out the 40-hour-a-week job hours. I can block out the blocks I'm going to save for coaching, and have a plan that, and know when I sit down at my desk at 9 o'clock that first hour is going to be about marketing, or it's going to be about coaching, or whatever it happens to be that time. The other thing I think is really critical in this day and age is differentiating your social media time. And this hack I think is a really useful thing, is that there's social media time for me that's relaxation and connecting with friends, and there's social media time for me that's part of the full-time job, and there's social media time for me that's part of the coaching practice.
Nice.
And it's very easy to pick up my phone, to put a post in my coaching page, and then stay there and transition into social media time that's not productive. And so just being aware of that and having some blocks, like this is when I'm going to check the job web stuff, the posts related to what's going on at work. And this is when I'm going to do my coaching social media. And then trying to reserve personal social media for a separate time.
No, that's a really great
And
yeah.
And an awareness, again, it's one of those things, once you say it out loud and once you acknowledge it, then when you start to do it, you can see it in yourself. But it takes that acknowledgement and that visual of, oh yeah, I do that. I don't want to do that. So now I've got something I can recognize.
Wow. No, I mean, I think this is a huge aha for not just me, but for anybody listening and watching this training, because, we can go down, 8 hours of rabbit holes, right? And, and like, I know I run my business, we're on, like you said, but like those 3 separate sections, that's very important. Am I here just to put this in for the morning? Am I doing my morning loop, my morning social media loop, so then I can get to work? And I still meet people that don't know that you can schedule your posts, and that's like a reality. You can schedule your posts for the week in a group, and you can not on your personal page, but on your business page and in your groups. You can pre-schedule for the whole month. You could pre-schedule for the whole year if you really have the urge. It's just a matter of knowing that once a month that you sit down and you do that. And a lot of people hire people to do that. And then our job is just to come back and follow up. But it's just like you said, knowing the boundary of when I'm playing, this is work and this is play. And I can scroll endlessly while I'm watching my Netflix experience, and that has a boundary too. I want to say this out loud to people, that TV needs to have a boundary. TV needs to, because there's just a lot, like we only turn ours on for 2 or 3 hours in the evening. We do not watch any news, and we have not died a quick death. We get plenty of news in other fashions, because that's an endless ticker tape loop of things I don't necessarily need to deal with right now. And you are allowed to set a boundary with your TV, with your media, all the medias. And if you want to change how you think, change what's coming into your mind, right? Be transformed. Be transformed. That we do not have to be held hostage by a tube. It used to be a tube.
Mhm. Or this.
Right. We do not.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do not have to be held hostage by any device or tube unless we so choose and go into it without awareness. Like I'm starting to do a weekly Facebook fast. What does that mean for me? That means for me, I have to move my Facebook app like 7 screens down just to stop the habit. Because I mean, I'm still going to have my phone with me today, but I can't just instantly click like I normally do. And so, and it's
Right.
painful and it's beautiful and it's good for me. And most things are, all of the combination of those that we want to learn how to do. But it's a habit, and it's today will be a great learning for me because it's removing. I mean, here's the deal: we're addicted. I mean, there's addictions that look like this, and there's addictions that look like
Right.
this. And the other day I was in my husband's office, and I was like tapping on tapping on a piece of paper. Come on. Anyway, it's good. Anything else
Yeah.
you want to share?
I think this is a good place for people to start. I think for the people who are watching and listening in on this, you've gotten to see a little bit of how a coaching session works, right? As we're bouncing off these ideas off of each other, and even leading to some of our own sort of understandings about schedule and all of this. And I know that the power of a coach is a real thing. And so if this conversation feels like something you want to be a part of, reach out to me, reach out to Diane, and figure out how best to continue working with us.
So go ahead and tell them how to find you.
The best way to find me is at HeidiKleine.com. And from there, you can launch into any of the other things I offer. Connect with me on social media and all of that.
Awesome. And you can find me at dianecunningham.com, and we'll have the links to all that in this YouTube experience. And so definitely, I mean, you've gotten to see us aha with each other, which is really cool. And you've gotten to see a relationship that's not just a one session. I mean, we've been together a long time, and there's a power in that. So definitely, we both encourage you to reach out, level up, level up with Heidi. Choose brave. Come to the table. Come to the table, wherever the table is for you, because the table, it changes. That things look different seasons of our life. But I know I always have a coach, and so does Heidi, and I'm always coaching, and so because guess what? I have more to learn today. And I've already learned so much just from this one conversation. That's cool. That's right. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up with maybe a little prayer, if you're okay with it.
Sounds fine.
Okay. God, thank you for this time together with my friend, my colleague, my fellow coach. And thank you that we can learn so very much together and separate. And we can learn that just right here through technology. We can learn that in person. We can learn that through even just one question can change everything. One question. And so, Lord, we thank you that we're willing, and we ask that you continue to help us be willing. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, girl. Have a good day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.